Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Naz.
Collectively, all of us in a room together make the Office Blokes.
We do indeed.
It's a true factual statement.
It is indeed.
This video is from The Economist, which that's for clever people to watch, isn't it?
I don't think we've done any videos by The Economist, have we?
No, I don't think so. Is it a tabloid?
I've seen it. It's like a magazine, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think so.
I've
Yeah,
seen.
that's right.
Yeah. This is why America's murder rate has spiked from 2020. Is it?
Why America's murder rate has soared in 2020.
Right. Okay.
Well, I think, that was prime
COVID
time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I would guess so. Yeah.
People stuck at home with their spouses that usually wouldn't see that much of them.
People sort of in close proximity to each other
Yeah,
a lot more than
yeah,
they sort of been used to, I guess. Yeah, maybe.
I suppose a lot of the people out on the streets when you're not supposed to be on the streets are probably criminals as well.
Yeah.
I was in a taxi ages ago and the taxi driver was saying he was never busier as he was during the pandemic.
Really?
And I was like, why? And he said, drug dealers.
Oh, yeah.
They're all getting taxis everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just constantly. He said he'd have a couple of lads in the back and he'd just be driving here to there to there to there, just being like a chauffeur.
Like a DPD driver.
No
Yeah.
police.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, yeah, let's have a look at this. Why America's murder rate has spiked.
911, where's the emergency?
Someone just got shot.
Is there a gun still there? The person who shot him still there?
I can't see one.
Someone just got shot right in front of us.
You guys need to come. You guys need to get here now.
In 2020, as COVID-19 spread around the world, a different kind of epidemic was sweeping across America.
Anybody know who did the shooting?
Does anyone see anything? No.
Even as other crimes fell, murders spiked by 30%. It's the biggest jump in modern history.
You had this perfect, horrible storm that resulted in the massive increase in violence around the country.
And it didn't stop there. Homicides kept going up in many areas of America in 2021.
How was he?
He's not doing great.
We have an ambulance and police over there, okay?
Okay.
I've never seen so many guns in a neighborhood.
And in 2022, there are no signs the national murder rate is significantly falling. So what's behind the huge surge in violence? And what can America do to avoid this becoming the new normal? Roseland, Chicago's South Side. A few days ago, there was a shooting here. Retaliation could be on the way.
They know that we coming, they know why we coming. Got the whole group out there, they getting everybody rallied up. We see guys standing out on the streets, we gonna engage with them. And they know that I know that they did something.
Terrence Henderson isn't here to take sides. He's here to stop the bloodshed before it escalates. He's an outreach worker from Chicago Cred, one of the city's many violence interruption organizations. Groups like this attempt to prevent shootings without relying on police. It's a model that's being implemented across America.
We just know that it's going to be more shootings that happen if we don't step in and intervene.
When a shooting does take place, violence interrupters race to the scene to try to calm the situation down.
We should encourage something similar over here to
was
this,
gonna say, it's
to
a
the
good
knife
idea.
crimes we have over here.
Yeah.
Knife crime's gone crazy, hasn't
Yeah, it has, yeah. And I think with people like this on the streets, volunteers sort of like putting the time in.
People that know the area, know the people involved as well, but
Yeah.
they want to sort of like try and change the lives around a bit,
Yeah.
don't they? So
I listened to a rapper from London talking about knife crime the other day, and he said what people don't understand is these kids aren't trying to kill people. They don't get the seriousness of their actions, a lot of them, and they're just all carrying knives, scared to fight, and when it kicks off, they're just using it, and then suddenly someone dies, and he's saying more often than not, they're devastated that they've killed someone, but it's too late now, you've done it.
yeah.
You know, and it's like a lot of people don't get the gravity of the situation they're getting
It's all
themselves
that,
into.
a lot of them are kids are like peer pressure from school and other people who think it's cool to carry knives. I think it's a great look. I mean, that's where they really need to start, is at school, I think, isn't it? Which I know some people, ex-offenders sometimes do go into schools, don't they?
do.
And
Yeah.
give talks on knife crime because they've been through it, which is, I think, is probably one of the better ways to sort of like try and ease the problems, I would guess.
Yeah, Have you ever watched 24 Hours in A&E?
Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah.
There's a similar program on Netflix now that's in New York.
Seen it advertised.
I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes the other night. It was great. It's
Looks
really
good,
compelling
looks
stuff.
good. Yeah, I'll watch that then.
And it gives you a good overview of how many hospitals there are, what they're dealing with, you know, and the ins and outs of it all. But there was a kid, I say a kid, he's like 17, 18, that had been shot. And when you watch that and you watch his mum by his side and everything else, like anyone who can watch that and not be moved by it is heartless.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
a lot of the kids should be watching that going, you think you're big and you've gone and shot someone.
Yeah.
That's the consequences. The mum that's there for days, devastated, the brother, everyone else.
Yeah, that bit. Yeah, another good angle. You know, watching things like that. You know, it's actually real. It's not. You know,
Put your ego aside, and it's not you and them. It's
absolutely,
your
yeah.
family and their family on the line.
It's
as
glamorised
well.
to a certain extent. And all these being gang members and stuff like that. But you know, the reality is it's proper.
It's not a good life, is it?
No, not at all.
No.
We had guys in the front, we got guys in the back. We watching for cuts and through the alleyways, and then we always have a guy that's trailing, just to make sure that if we have to get some guys out this area quickly, that it's able to happen real fast.
Our singular mission is, first and foremost, to reduce gun violence and assess the most at-risk to shoot or be shot individuals in these high crime areas.
It's an urgent mission. Although Chicago has a reputation as a violence hotspot, it's actually fairly typical for America. Murder rates are above pre-pandemic levels across the country. The spike in killings has undone almost 3 decades of progress, in which homicide rates declined in America. Some cities, like Philadelphia, are now experiencing murder rates not seen since the 1990s. Even in New York, one of America's safest cities, murders rose by 47%. The worry is, rises like this could become the new baseline nationwide.
It's kind of like trying to put the genie back in the bottle once it is out.
Sociologists call murder rates sticky. Once they're up, it's hard to bring them back down. Something outreach workers like Terrence have seen firsthand.
When it comes down to the violence in the neighborhoods, one incident will definitely spiral into multiple incidents. And it's gonna always be retaliatory actions.
His experience is personal as well as professional. Like many violence interrupters, Terrence was once involved in a criminal lifestyle. That past helps him step in and diffuse potential violence.
The way that we move as outreach workers is similar to how we move when we was in our criminal lifestyle, just without the crime.
Terrence spends his time reaching out to those most at risk of being involved in gun violence.
Well, I have absolutely done a lot of the things that they've done. The best outreach workers come from that lifestyle.
What y'all doing?
And we out here promoting peace.
All right, that works.
I don't want anyone to feel the way that I felt for years.
One of the program's newest participants is Wesley.
I was losing so many people around me at a young age. I lost about 5 to 6 people in my life. Mostly the gang violence. I got more involved in the streets, I'll say.
In this kind of environment, violence interruption organizations are crucial, offering services like life coaching to help young men control their anger.
Using these tools help you develop more tools in real time on how to get yourself out of situations.
But the spread of COVID-19 only made things harder. The local tensions that Wesley experienced were exacerbated by the lockdowns.
Some people weren't surviving during the pandemic.
I can't work out if Wesley's 15 or 28.
I know, yeah.
He's got a young look about him, hasn't he?
It's probably a wider demographic than it's probably like 16 to about 40.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. So,
yeah.
Can't tell.
A lot of this, like, I'm guessing a lot of it's linked with poverty as well, though. And it's like the sort of poorer areas with less opportunity tend to have more gang violence because you can make money, you can have a nice car, you can have jewellery.
Yeah.
If you do that, otherwise you may not be able to get the job that's ever going to pay that sort of money that will give you what you feel like you deserve.
I'm wondering how much of the murder rate, spiking murder rate, like we've got over here, the murder rates have gone up from knife crime, but a lot of it's to do with robbery as well and theft.
Yeah.
And things like that. I'm wondering if that's the same over there, or is it just gang related,
Mainly gang,
like a competition type thing?
Lots of retaliation as well.
That's what they said, wasn't it? A lot of when there's 1 or 2 murders, it's going to be more and more because there's always retaliation, and it's tit for tat all the time, isn't it? I suppose.
How do you talk someone out of that though? Because let's say your brother, growing up, you're 18, 19, your brother gets killed through gun violence, and you know who did it. How do you talk someone out of retaliating? It's going to be
the consequence, isn't it? It's the consequence you're going to face of it all.
Yeah.
You may end up dead. And if you want to say that it's the gamble, it's the risk and reward, isn't it?
It's going to be tough for most people though, if someone hurts someone that you care about, to not retaliate and be the bigger person and step back from it. It's tough for everyone, isn't it?
It was hard for them to figure out what they were going to do, how they were going to eat, pay rent, do this. So it was like every man for themselves.
Ain't no clubs open, ain't no activities going on outside. So you had a lot of guys that was building in frustration, and a lot of violence definitely escalated from that.
Many services, including violent interruption work, had to stop or go online, often leaving those at risk of being involved in gun violence with nowhere to turn. But the murder spike is a problem that goes far beyond Chicago's South Side.
What was quite remarkable was that it was in cities and towns and suburbs and rural areas across the country.
People of all races were affected, but due to long-standing inequalities, black communities bore the brunt of the problem. These issues don't just exist in America. Many countries have deep-rooted disparities in their cities, as well as left-behind rural areas. And much of the world implemented lockdowns. Yet almost nowhere else experienced a sharp spike in its murder rate like America did. In some countries, the rate actually declined.
Wow.
So what is it about America that could have contributed to the rise? One factor is guns. America has more of them than any other country. Guns even outnumber people. And during the pandemic, sales soared.
People went to gun stores and went to the internet and started ordering and purchasing guns at about the highest rate in history.
And more guns tends to mean more murders.
There's been a number of studies actually in the last 2 years that really prove that the increase in sales of guns and the availability of guns directly correspond to the increase in gun violence.
Guns were used in almost 80% of America's murders in 2020, the highest percentage since at least 1968.
Oh.
I've never seen so many guns in the neighborhood like how I see them today. So it's all kind of different military style weapons that's out here.
Gun carrying in Chicago increased by a massive 110% in 2020, despite the state of Illinois having some of the country's strictest firearm laws.
If you think about one of the effects of the pandemic and the lockdowns and stuff was fear.
Yeah.
Like people were scared. They're scared that there's going to be no food, there's going to be riots in the street.
No toilet roll.
You're going to get sick. Yeah, no toilet roll. But you're going to get sick. Like there was so much fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
And you can see, when you've seen looting on the TV and stuff like that, people thinking, I need to protect my family. So then that's why the gun sales soar.
Yeah.
I'd guess so, yeah.
But then
also protection as well. Like,
course.
just like you're saying, I know you're saying protect your family for what might be these people on the lookout to cause trouble as well. So you're at home, your whole family's with you.
Yeah.
If you've got a gun, you're protecting the whole family. Like you say, if everyone's out and about, you might have a gun at home, but you're not going to do anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It'd be more about protecting literally the physical house, wouldn't it? I guess. So
I just think there was a lot of fear for a long time.
There was, yeah. A lot of people.
No one knew what was going on.
It's a frightening time, wasn't it? We remember, don't we, when we first came, because we had to keep working anyway. Yeah. It's so eerie coming to work that first time. It's literally just no one about.
There was no one on the road.
It's pretty scary stuff.
I think we acclimatised quite quickly because we were just working throughout, and there was no sit at home for 3 months and just watch the news.
Or people that were at home, working at home, day in, day out.
Terrified, a lot of them.
I guess so.
There's a lot of people I spoke to about the things that were going on at the height of it, and their perspective of it compared to mine was so vastly different. Because it's like, we've just had to crack on and go to work every day, and some people are they're terrified to leave the house. Rubber gloves, sanitizer, masks, like they're just scared. But I just wonder if that leads in the rise to it, because people are just, fear has gone through the roof, and then you arm loads of scared people, and then they possibly become quite dangerous.
But then they know that a lot of other people are already armed, so it's not like no one is, and just one or two people get a gun, because I mean, so many people have guns in the first place that it probably just spiraled and spiraled.
The other side of it is when you are sort of like locked up in your own house and there's nowhere to go, and there's nothing going on at night, and there's no shops are open, and there's nowhere, you can't walk down the street for less than an hour or whatever, or more than an hour, and mental health. And then you start thinking crazy shit.
Cool, absolutely. I
wonder how much the domestic abuse sort of murder rates rose. You know, the killing of spouses and things like that, if that accounts for a lot of this, where people are locked up at home with the best will in the world, have got the guns to protect from the riots or whatever else is going on.
If guns available, it's going to be worse, isn't it? But I know, I don't know, I mean, it said on that thing that the crime went down here, but I'm sure domestic crime, or was it just murders before when it showed that?
It was murders.
I think domestic violence did go up though, didn't it? Even over here. Sure it did. So
it will have done, without a doubt, which are the I think I just wonder how much of this is accounted for people you know, and how much of it is random gang violence, you know, where it's them versus them sort of thing.
Carrying a gun is almost second nature out here where we stay. Everybody's carrying a gun in the city, but I feel personally 60-70% of people are carrying guns for their protection. Nobody's just walking around with a gun because it looks cool.
The pandemic made people scared, so there's a run on guns.
2020 was a scary year for America, and it wasn't just due to the pandemic. On May 25th, George Floyd was murdered by a police officer in Minneapolis, Minnesota. His killing sparked mass protests across the country and the world. It led America to question yet again how its police officers treat people of color. And it may also have contributed to the rise in murders. The thing is, it's happened before. Last time there was a murder spike was in 2015. That year saw high-profile protests after police killings of black men, including Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri.
There is growing outrage tonight after an unarmed African-American teenager was shot and killed by police in the St. Louis suburb of Ferguson, Missouri.
No justice, no peace. Fight back. Fight back.
And Freddie Gray in Baltimore, Maryland.
Freddie Gray died from a severe injury to his spinal cord. Cell phone video of the arrest shows police dragging him into a van.
We gonna fight for Freddie Gray.
People have talked about the Ferguson effect when Mike Brown was killed by police, the increase in distrust in police, and therefore an increase in violence.
After 2015, the murder rate did fall, but it never fully returned to where it had been.
When you have distrust in police, you make it very difficult for police to solve crimes. When you have grieving mothers in communities who've lost their young sons and they aren't receiving what they think is justice,
What do we want? Where do we want it? Now!
that increases the distrust. And what happens over time is a feeling that we cannot trust law enforcement and we have to take justice into our own hands. And so it really increases this retaliatory cycle of violence. And then the distrust, which leads to less cooperation, which leads to less solving of homicides, has its own vicious cycle.
It's interesting that, isn't it? If the cops are out there catching the bad guys and putting them in jail, you can't retaliate against them because they're locked up out of reach.
Yeah.
But if the bad guys aren't getting caught because the police aren't having the cooperation but maybe aren't investigating in the right way,
vicious
as well,
circle, isn't it, really?
Yeah, then it's street justice, and then street justice leads to more street justice, and then it spirals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
I'd never thought of that.
Yeah, but the police, in, I don't just not. I'm not saying the USA. I'm talking about the police over here. All I can comment on. have not done themselves any favour in the last 2 or 3 years over here, and I'm sure it's the same in the USA.
I agree.
They're not helping the situations.
Yeah, certain incidents in the going to the public for, and you think,
you read what's happening in just the Met Police, they're not alone. And then you times that by every police force in the country, which what it is. And it
does breed distrust with the police, doesn't it? Like I said, then you don't get the cooperation with the public, and it just, it just makes everything worse in general.
Yeah, right. I think there's obviously a need for lots of cops, but there's also a need for less bad cops.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a higher level of training and a higher bar of entry. But then how do you get that many officers?
The problem is, there's always sort of bad eggs in any profession, isn't there?
Absolutely.
There's always is, you can't, wheedle them all out, can you? But it's how do you keep it at a minimum sort of thing. But things should be put in place, to get them out earlier. Because we've heard certain police doing certain things over here that have been put away for a long, long time recently, where some of the things that have been done have been brought to the police's attention, but nothing's been done about it.
Yeah.
And then they've gone on to do even worse things over a period of years.
And it should be investigated to the start, to get to the root of that.
Of course it should.
Where it all started, and then prosecute all the ones that first come. I'm just wondering if in these, I don't know how many police officers kill people during a year in the USA. I don't think it's shown any stats on that on here anyway.
No,
I don't see any.
But it'd be interesting to know what the percentage-wise is from police to the public.
What? How many? Police
would it be classified as a murder still?
I don't think so. I think if it's justified in terms of they come at you with a gun and you shoot them, I wouldn't, because murder implies killing an innocent person. I always thought,
and sort of on purpose.
Yeah, but there has been killings where that person has been innocent.
Absolutely.
Does that go down as murder?
I saw one the other day that was a donut operator one where a cop was chasing a guy, and the guy was running off and he was drunk and stuff, but the guy hid round the corner, and as the cop walks round the corner, the guy made him jump, and the cop shot because he made him jump. Killed the guy within seconds, and the cop in the background is crying his eyes out. He's like begging for the guy to be alive, because he got startled, and obviously it's maybe a lack of training and like a bad sort of situation all round. But you think that's probably a murder. In fact, it is a murder, isn't it? It's like someone who wasn't a threat necessarily.
It's a tough one, really, isn't it?
Yeah, statistics can lie a little bit, can't they? You need to delve into the statistics a little bit.
Basically,
deeper.
if the police, if they go through a legal process and they're found to have killed someone illegally, then it's a murder.
Then it's
it just is. So.
This is where groups like Chicago Cred come in. The violence interruption model is expanding across the country as an alternative to broken policing.
We await till, law enforcement finish whatever investigative work that they do, and we just go around those areas and show support, try to find the victims, and get them some support if they need it. So just to be able to be that extra added resource to the community.
Between 2016 and the start of the pandemic, Chicago had seen a 36% decline in violent crime. While it's hard to measure what exactly causes crime to rise and fall, studies in both Chicago and elsewhere suggest violence interruption can help reduce shootings. But it's an uphill struggle. As soon as Terrence gets back to the office, there are reports of more shots fired.
All right, Wally, I just got a couple calls and some hits on a possible incident. If it didn't happen, the police ain't there, then I make the call to the clearance for us to go through and do a shoot response.
Say that.
They may sometimes beat law enforcement to the scene of shootings, but violence interrupters aren't meant to be a replacement. Despite losing a lot of trust, the police will always play a vital role in public safety. Yet to get the murder spike back down, America may want to reevaluate how it enforces the law.
Police departments have to make a real effort at improving, increasing, regaining the trust of the community. There must be an acknowledgement that the trust is broken.
The police are supposed to be able to know their beats, walk their beats, and know stakeholders, and be able to converse with them and get intel from them, because that's how it used to be. That's what we're missing right now.
I'm not resisting. Let go of me.
Change may be needed, but the surge in murders has rattled lawmakers across the country. law and order politics are back.
It's time that the reign of criminals who are destroying our city, it is time for it to come to an end.
When people are scared, there is fear of violence, there is fear of serious crime. Unfortunately, police reform is a much more difficult discussion. When we look at the data, we actually see there is no need for the bad old days of arrest everybody. There is a very small number of people who are
What's that helmet that guy had on?
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
It's a bit odd.
Was it after this?
everybody. There is a
Looks like a
Vikings
helmet,
fan?
isn't it?
very small number of people who are driving gun violence in any particular city. It's less than 1%. We have to focus our efforts really strictly on the people who are at the very highest risk of violence, and that's a small number of people.
Tragically, the national murder rate shows no sign of dropping to pre-pandemic levels. So however America chooses to tackle it, the country urgently needs to do something before the spike becomes a plateau.
People are just adapting to their situations. Everybody is not monsters. They're not.
Wow. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a correlation to people's decline in mental health across the board.
Yeah, I
and
think so.
Murder
I think,
rates.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that.
I think it's got to be part of it, I would guess.
Imagine a lot of people lost jobs.
Of
Businesses
course.
closed.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that won't help at all, will it? I mean, you've got families to feed and could be losing the place where they live, losing homes, everything.
How many people turn to crime because they've got no choice, and how many people do it because they love it? You know, and if you lose your jobs, your businesses, everything else, and it's like,
of course,
you're going to go and stick someone up with a gun, and it goes wrong, and they get shot, and then it's another statistic.
It's such a complex issue, it really is, isn't it? I mean, yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I really don't.
I mean, I don't know, if guns were, do you think if guns were freely available over here like they are in the USA, do you think the crime rate will spike?
It'd go up.
Yeah.
I
guess so.
I had this debate with my brother and my dad the other day, because obviously I used to have a shotgun license. My dad's got a firearms and shotgun license, so he's got rifles and shotguns. My brother used to have a shotgun license, but now his stance has changed. I'm not going to speak for him, but he thinks we need more reform over here.
Yeah.
Without going too much into it, because I know they're debating it in Parliament at the moment, whether or not they're going to reform gun laws in the UK and tighten them up even more.
Right.
I don't think we need it. I think our current gun laws, as long as the police actually enforce, they work. Whereas the cops have taken guns off people in the past couple of years after serious assaults and things like that, given the guns back, and then those people have gone and killed people.
Yeah.
That's a failing in policing, not the guns.
Of course it is, yeah.
The biggest problem over here with guns, though, is the unlicensed guns that are in the hands of the criminals.
There's
and
not,
they're heavy, that's heavy fucking weaponry what they're carrying around.
That's always going to happen, that I guess, isn't it? Because they're illegal, aren't they? So it's,
they got machine guns and everything now.
Legally owned firearms don't kill many people in this country.
Yeah.
But then, as part of that debate, you know, then I think my bro said, "Well, would you want it to be like the States over here?" And I'm like, "No, I'm quite happy with our gun." Although I like handguns, and I always wish I could have been in an era where I got to shoot handguns more. I wouldn't want people carrying them in the UK. We've got, but we're different people.
Yeah, we are.
Like, there's a lot more space in
the
America.
Constitution of
than there
it,
is
you've right to bear arms, isn't it? Which has been going along a long lot. Whether people agree with it, even in the States, is it's a personal thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So a lot of people have. There's been a lot of guns over there for a long, long time. So I think a lot of people do just get them for just protection, don't they?
Absolutely.
Whereas obviously, because we've had different gun controls for centuries, and it's not like the norm to have a gun, then I suppose we don't feel the need to do that. We'd probably just have like a golf club under a bed or something, wouldn't we, to defend ourselves? Or,
I think there's,
literally.
I want to say there's either 10 or 20 million guns in the UK.
Really, that many?
Something like that.
Wow.
It's probably 10, I think, thinking about it. It's the lower end of the spectrum. But in the States, they've got more guns than people.
Yeah.
But I think people that get a gun legally in this country, it's because they enjoy the pastime and the sport, and they enjoy
that's
shooting.
all. Yeah.
Which I'm sure a lot of the shooters in America do it because they enjoy the sport, they're passionate about
That's
it.
what I mean, because I don't think people feel the need to have it to defend themselves
No.
over here, do they? That's what I'm
But that's
sort of getting
the
at.
thing. There's going to be a demographic of the population that aren't into guns, that just have guns because they're scared or
Yeah.
as protection or whatever. Maybe they're not very well trained on how to use them, how to de-escalate situations. But it's a complete different culture, and
of course it is. Yeah,
there's so much more space out there. Whereas if we had more guns than people in the UK on this tiny little island, I think it'd turn into the Hunger Games pretty quick. It'd be absolute carnage.
Yeah, people would be walking around like properly like we're playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
I mean, I just done like hand grenades.
Yeah.
Well, that's happened. You know, someone throwing hand grenades at the cops at Dale Cregan years ago.
Yeah, of course.
Is he still around?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting topic, isn't it? I enjoy guns.
Like
I love shooting.
Absolutely complex as well, isn't it? It's there's a lot to discuss about that. Hell of a lot.
We had like a 2-3 hour discussion in the pub over it.
It's a subject where
it's a tough one.
It's a good debate. I always think it's a really good debate.
As long as everyone remains respectful of each other's opinions, and you know, we may disagree on it, but I'm going to listen to what you're going to say. You listen to me, and then. We're not trying to change minds, we're debating.
Yeah.
And I think too many people are married to their opinions now, and if you don't agree with me, I'm offended.
There's valid opinions on all sides, I think.
Absolutely,
It's just so difficult finding, wow, that's the answer sort of thing, because it's so difficult.
It's a hot topic at the moment in the USA. Obviously, there was a shooting in Nashville this week, wasn't there? And I think it's sort of like raised its head again to be debated for gun laws and gun control.
Yeah.
But again, there's 2 and 4, there's 2 and 4 and against sort of thing.
I think unless you sort out the mental health crisis, you're going to have to fix something. And I don't think taking the guns away necessarily is a fix for all the problems.
Yeah.
But I think sorting everyone's mental health out across the board would fix it better, if you know what I mean. The amount of people that are medicated, and they're medicated for decades, and it's drugs that they might not necessarily need to be taking. Some do, some don't. There's a culture, I know there is in the States, and I know there is over here to a degree, of signing prescriptions off.
I do my own.
But there's a big...
What do you need?
There's a lot of doctors, especially in the States, that are sort of incentivized to prescribe a certain new drug for mental health issues. And they can be a bit of a blunt instrument. You know, they're not going to necessarily fix, but they might dull the symptoms. And a lot of people, they need to know people care. They need better care for their mental health.
Yeah.
So a mentally ill, someone who goes and does a horrific thing like the shooting in Nashville, that's not a mentally well person. No mentally well person could do something like that.
No, I agree.
So if you fix everyone's mental health, hopefully you'd see a massive reduction in
the right
some
direction.
people.
I think so when you've got a population so big.
Some people are well past that point.
It's a competitive population as well.
Yeah.
So when you come against that, then that sort of like sparks, that sort of anxiety and all the stuff that comes with that. So I don't know.
I think there's division across the Western world massively as well.
I agree.
It's happening here. It's happening in the States. People need a reminder that we're all in it together. We're a community.
Yeah. Good debate.
Yeah.
I'd say what I'd like to know in the comments is if this is available, what percentage of murders with illegal guns, not registered or not, is it high, low? Is it people who are registered? Is it easy to buy? Because I think guns are quite easy to buy, aren't they, in the US?
It's going to be state by state, because there are checks. There's background checks in most states, I think, if not all.
Yeah.
Check for minimum like felonies and
I
arrests.
Get that. But what I'm talking about, if I wanted a gun today, I know where to go to get a gun over here. I know exactly where I can go and get a gun right now. Right. I could probably get a variety. Illegally, yeah.
Right.
I could probably get a variety. I could probably get like anything from a pistol all the way through to an assault rifle of some sort. But in the USA, I imagine that's even easier to come by. It's the places you can go where you can just say, "Is the gun shop?" Sometimes you might be able to go in certain states and just go, "I'll have this one," and they go, £200 or whatever it costs.
You know what one of the loopholes is in some of the states? So I've heard. I obviously can't verify anything. Is gun shows.
Right.
So if you go to a gun show where it's private sellers, so instead of being like you're walking into a gun shop where they're liable, they have to do the checks. You're going to a big arena full of people with stalls, and they're all private owners, private citizens. I'll buy that one, please, mate. Oh, cool. Yeah, take the money, hand the gun. Without the checks.
Yeah.
I know that in some places is
surely
is
if
the
that's
case.
used in a crime, it'll have a serial number, and if it's
traceable,
if it's traceable to a person, surely they get.
But I think
for it.
It's assumed that that's legal. That's a legal firearm being sold legally between two people. It's just you're bypassing the checks.
You might not be any record of a sale. And that's what I'm saying. I can go, like I say, you can go and buy a gun now, use it. Right? No one will know it was me that's used it. They might know where the gun is and where it's come from, but they won't know I had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's no traceability of that gun to coming back to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to go to a crim down the road and say, right, I want to buy that handgun.
Yeah.
He's going to say, right, copy your driving license, please.
Yeah.
Copy your passport, whatever, and write this out. Put your number down there. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. No.
He's just going to give me a crazy number. I'm going to hand him the cash over, and I've got the gun with bullets.
Yeah.
And I walk away.
You know, something else.
And shoot and take the money off him.
It's a joke. So something else that's worth saying, though, is in this sort of, we're entering the future where everything is available to everyone at all times. That seems to be the way the future's going. And I know the police are taking 3D printing very seriously for firearms in this country, because you can 3D print bullets as well, allegedly. Really? Someone told me the other day, which I didn't think would be a thing. So you've got to assume that if 3D printers enter every home, all people need is the schematic, and then they can start printing their own guns. So that would say that potentially the world will be flooded with even more guns in years to come. So you need to get to the root of the problem, which is the mental health. Yeah. Because it might get to the point where it's past the point of no return, and there's that many guns. Yeah. There is no getting them out of people's hands.
No. Yeah, interesting. Let us know in the comments what you think as well. Be kind and to everybody. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.